In this video, you will learn how to destroy the hippopotamus system by taking advantage of the space advantage. White plays e4. Black replied d6, a very flexible move that can transposed into various openings. White played d4, occupying the center with his pawns. Black played g6, using a move order typical of the modern defense. Black's idea is to develop his king's bishop to the g7 square, where it will be very well positioned. White played knight c3, developing his queen's knight to its natural square. Black played bishop g7, developing his king's bishop. White replied bishop e3, developing his queen's bishop and strengthening the defense of the d4 pawn. White's plan is to continue with queen d2, then castle longside and use a 150 attack scheme to attack on the kingside. Black played a6, intending to advance with b5 and prepare for a counterattack on the queenside. White played queen d2, preparing to castle queenside and attack on the kingside using the 150 attack pattern. Now, Black refused to advance with b5, so as not to offer attacking targets to the opponent, and played b6, making a more modest move to maintain a solid position. Black's idea is to develop the queen's bishop to the b7 square to occupy the long light square diagonal, where it will be very well positioned. White played f3, blocking the long light square diagonal and strengthening the defense of the e4 pawn. White's plan is to advance his kingside pawns to attack in this area. Black played h6, preparing to face the opponent's kingside attack. White played knight g to e2, developing his king's knight. Black played e6. His plan is to establish a hippopotamus-like structure. Black will place his queen's bishop on the b7 square and his knights on d7 and e7. White castled queenside. Black played knight d7, developing his queen's knight. White played g4, beginning to advance his kingside pawns to prepare for an attack in this area. Black played knight e7, developing the king's knight. White played knight g3. White's knight will be very well positioned on this square, as it can support the pawn breaks with h4 and h5 or f4 and f5. If Black now plays f5 to stop the opponent's possible attack, White can respond g takes f5, capturing the black pawn, with the aim of opening lines and weakening the opponent's pawn structure. If Black plays g takes f5, White plays knight h5, invading with the knight in the enemy camp and attacking the bishop on g7. White has an advantage. If after the move g takes f5, Black responds e takes f5, capturing with this other pawn. White plays e takes f5, and Black's kingside collapses. For example, after knight takes f5. White plays knight takes f5. And after g takes f5, White plays queen g2, threatening to capture the bishop on g7 and threatening to invade via the g6 square. White is winning, since queen f6 is not possible because White plays knight d5, threatening to capture the black queen and threatening to invade with the knight on the c7 square. White wins. In the game, after the move knight g3, Black played bishop b7, developing his queen's bishop. White played f4, advancing his pawns with the idea of gaining space. If Black plays f5, to stop the advance of the white pawn and try to open the large light square diagonal, White could play d5, attacking the weak e6 pawn. If Black now plays e takes d5, White plays g takes f5. After, for example, d takes e4, White plays f takes g6, destroying the kingside. After knight g6, White plays knight h5, attacking the bishop on g7, and White has an advantage. And if, after the move d5, Black plays f takes e4, White can play d takes e6, and the black knight is attacked. After, for example, knight f6, to defend the knight and attack the g4 pawn. White plays bishop e2, developing the bishop and defending the g4 pawn. White has an advantage. In the game, after the move f4, Black played b5, advancing on the queenside to try to create counterplay on this flank. White played f5, gaining even more space and attacking against the opponent's pawn chain. If black now captures the f5 pawn with e takes f5. White plays g takes f5. After g takes f5, white plays bishop h3, completing the development of his minor pieces and increasing the pressure against the f5 point. After, for example, f takes e4, white plays knight c takes e4. Black has difficulty completing his development, and white has a clear advantage. In the game, after the move f5, black played e5, trying to keep the game closed and prevent the opponent's attack. White played d5, gaining even more space and blocking the bishop on b7. White has a clear space advantage, and the black pieces can barely move. Now, black played knight f6, trying to activate his knight and threatening to capture the g4 pawn. White played bishop e2, completing the development of his minor pieces and defending the g4 pawn. Now, black's best move is probably c6, attacking against the opponent's pawn center, with the aim of freeing his position. White would then follow with d takes c6. After, for example, knight takes c6, white plays f takes g6, to weaken the kingside. After f takes g6, white plays h4 with the idea of continuing with g5 and opening the kingside. The black king will not be able to find a safe haven, and white can organize a decisive attack. In the game, after the move bishop e2, black played bishop c8, with the idea of reactivating the bishop and searching for a better diagonal. White played bishop f3, improving the position of his bishop and strengthening the defense of his pawn chain. Black played bishop d7. White replied h4, continuing his attack on the kingside. If black now plays b4, attacking on the queenside, white replies knight c to e2. And after, for example, g takes f5. White plays e takes f5 and can then continue with g5, and white is winning. In the game, after the move h4, black played knight f to g8, intending to anticipate the attack of the opposing pawns. But black is becoming very passive and has less and less room to maneuver with his pieces. White played queen f2, moving the queen to attack on the kingside and aiming the bishop along this diagonal. Black played b4, attacking on the queenside to try to create counterplay. White played knight c to e2 to defend his knight. Black played c6, attacking against the opponent's pawn center to try to free his position. White played g5, continuing his attack on the kingside. The game continued with g takes f5, to break the opponent's pawn's attacking front and try to repel the attack. White played d takes c6. After knight takes c6. White played knight takes f5, and the bishop on g7 is threatened. If black now eliminates the knight with bishop takes f5, white plays e takes f5, and the knight on c6 is attacked. After, for example, rook c8 to defend the knight. White can play f6, gaining even more space, attacking the bishop on g7 and leaving the knight on g8 trapped. After the move bishop f8, white plays bishop d5. Black can hardly move, and white has a winning advantage. In the game, after the move knight f5, black played bishop f8 to defend his bishop. White played the move knight to d6 check. After bishop takes d6, white played rook takes d6. And black resigned. White can double the rooks on the d-file, invade with his bishop on b6, and black's position collapses. A very instructive game, in which we saw how white took the better chances of his space advantage to defeat black's hippo scheme. If you liked the video, share it with your friends. Subscribe and like it, it's free and it helps me a lot. See you in the next video.